What's up, people? I am back for another video. Today we are reviewing Batman '89. I figured, since it's September, why not start the Batman films with our journey with Batman '89? To me, this is the film that made me a Batman fan. Like, this is what obviously caused the animated series to come. And it's just, I rewatched it last night, man. It's still so fucking good. The cinematography, Michael Keaton. I actually think he's a really underrated Bruce Wayne. I think more people talk about him as Batman, the character, than, like, let's say him as Bruce. I actually think his Bruce is really good. It's not amazing. Like, I think his Bruce compared to, like, I'm going to be honest, compared to, like, Ben Affleck and Christian Bale, I think they did it a bit better, but his Bruce was still really good. And that moment where you set the light, I mean, I know that was Batman Returns, but where the signal comes in and he gets up is one of the greatest shots ever. And I actually just dig that black suit. Yeah, I would prefer Batman in gray and black. That's just me. But I do like that '89 suit. It just looks so good. In that opening scene, the I'm Batman scene, who are you? I'm Batman. It's just so iconic. It still hits. And then the music, the score by Danny Elfman is fucking incredible. To me, almost, you can almost argue it's the definitive Batman theme. That even the animated series basically used that theme. Well, they changed it a little bit, but relatively it sounds similar. For the animated series, that's how we got the animated series, was this film. And just, it was a big deal in '89. That yellow and black, the iconic yellow and black bat symbol was everywhere in 1989 after this film came out. And it was a crazy time. I would have loved to have seen this in theaters, but I always loved it as a kid. Just Nicholson as Joker. In my opinion, I actually think he's the best live action Joker we've had because he's the closest to the comics. Like, he's a gangster. He's the clown prince of crime. Like, he really nails that aspect of the character. His dynamic with Keaton is really good. And I think if they had, the only negative I've always felt, they never should have killed him. I've always thought that was a weird choice to kill the Joker, even as a kid. I was like, to me, Joker is a reoccurring. Most Batman villains, I think you shouldn't kill off, in my humble opinion. They should always be reoccurring, especially the Joker. So I'll admit, that's like the only thing about '89. If I had a little bit of criticism, it's that. I don't think they should have killed the Joker, but Nicholson was so good. That opening scene, when you don't see his face, but you see the aftermath, and then he's just laughing maniacally. It's done so well. Or when he kills his boss, Grissom. And after that, he's like, you get that iconic "wait till they get a load of me." Like, hits, dude. Nicholson to me is Joker. Ledger, don't get me wrong, probably put on a better performance, but to me, Nicholson really nailed the character. And watching again last night just solidified that. Just everything about this. I think Vicky Vale is probably the only somewhat negative too. She's always been there for me. She's the obligatory love interest for Bruce Wayne, but other than that, I really love this movie. This movie just hits. And while I was saying this yesterday, objectively, Batman Returns is probably a better film. I think I always prefer this one. Just the simplicity of Batman '89 just is what works. And it has my favorite Batmobile design. I love the Batmobile in this film. Like, think about it. When I think Batmobile, it's that one specifically. I do like Ben Affleck's Batmobile in the Snyder films. I like those ones. That's probably my favorite one, more in terms of it looks more comic accurate. But I really dig that '89. Just the design. I almost feel like it's a timeless design. Aside from maybe Bale's Batman, because that was more realistic, I honestly think that Batmobile could work with any live action Batman still. Even now, I think you could put that Batmobile with Ben Affleck and it would look good. It's a timeless design, in my opinion. I love that design. That's what makes it, I think, so iconic. It's just so timeless. But overall, we're not going to really go to the plot. You know, it's Batman and the Joker, and he has to stop the Joker. And I like how quick they do the origin, and they don't do it in the beginning, which was good. You see his parents get shot in later in the film. The only thing that they change is they make it Jack Napier, who's the Joker. He's the one who killed Bruce's parents, not Joe Chill. And obviously, I'm in the camp. I prefer when it's just a random criminal who killed Bruce's parents. I don't like the whole. I know there are some stories where it's basically the Court of Owls who killed his parents. I'm gonna be honest. I prefer when it was just a random murder. I think that's what makes it better. It's just that it was a random murder. Also, don't like stories where they try to make Bruce's parents kind of corrupt either. I don't really care for those stories. I prefer just them being killed by random. But in this instance, I'm okay with the change. I think it works for the story. And I love the final. It's not a final fight. It's more of a final confrontation, if anything. And I actually love the bat plane design too. And I love the scene when he flies to the moon and it makes the logo. It's so good. Yeah, man, I love Batman 89. It's such a good film. To me, it's timeless. I love the Prince song even. It works for the film. And I like that theme that plays in that opening intro is just so good. Like that score, the opening score playing in that intro is so awesome. And then it just pans out. It's the bat symbol. So fucking good. But anyways, guys, I just want to get into this movie. I don't know if I'm gonna do a video later. I know I said I was gonna make. I know I've been kind of missing out on Bad Movie Wednesdays, so I'll see. But if not, this might be my only video today. And then tomorrow, we're still gonna be doing Tropic Thunder, and then Friday Beetlejuice, too. And then I'm gonna save the Smackdown video. I'm gonna probably give Smackdown a few weeks, see if they improve. If not, then I'll make that video again. But I'm gonna drag that out a little bit. But yeah, Batman 89. 10 out of 10. I mean, this is one of the, especially as a comic book film, this is a 10 out of 10. Like, I mean, it did everything right. It almost reinvigorated. This could have been the film that really gave that jolt. I mean, yeah, Superman 78 did it, but there was like almost a 10-year gap between that. And I mean, because if we're being real, I'm not counting the really bad Reeves sequels. So yeah, technically 2 years before this, we had Superman 4, but I'm not counting those. So it was a big gap between a really great comic book film up until this point. Because before this, Superman 2 probably would have been the last one, and that was in 80. So that was 9 years. So, and then, yeah, you had Returns within 3 years, but then I think we kind of dropped the ball, obviously, with... I don't hate Forever, and we will get into that when I review Forever. I think Forever has some good in it, but I just think... I really would like to see that Schumacher cut, see what he originally intended, because I do think there's some good in it. I just think a lot of the cheese just unfortunately is more remembered. But anyways, let's get into Batman 89. So I love the opening, man. Like I said, you get that cool intro with the Elfman score, and then you get these two robbers who rob a family. They're counting the money, and then this is where you get your first appearance of Batman. And man, it's just so iconic. Like that. Who are you? I'm Batman. It just leaves him hanging. And this is where we're introduced to Vicky Vale, who I've said. And this is more later years, not necessarily when I first watched it, because when you're a kid, you're just watching it for Batman, right? And I wasn't as critical as a kid like that. But more recent years, I'll admit, I don't think Vicky's the only negative of the movie. I just don't feel like her character is needed. I actually think that her reporter partner, would have been a better character to be that reporter investigating Batman if you wanted that aspect, because he was much more interesting as a character. And I get he's a dude. You want to have the whole she gets romantic with Bruce, but I just didn't think her and Keaton, and I really noticed this last night watching it. I just don't think they really had chemistry. I'm just gonna be real, and I don't think I didn't really feel the chemistry between them. So I just felt like it was just there just to have the obligatory love interest, and I just didn't need it. I think honestly, Catwoman and Batman Returns a far better fucking love interest than Vicky Vale, to be honest. But anyway, so she investigates Batman. This is where they go to the ball, and this is where we're first introduced to Bruce Wayne, who at the time you don't know he's Batman. I mean, obviously, unless you know the character, yeah, you know he's Batman. But if you're coming in the '80s and you don't really know the character of Batman, you just know Batman, but you don't necessarily know who Bruce Wayne is. This is a good way to introduce it. The other criticism I have of this movie, I'm not a fan of Gordon. I think the guy who plays Gordon is a good actor, but to me, was not Jim Gordon. Because they never had that friendship, him and Batman, where, they're at the bat signal talking about, like, you don't have that scene. I think there's, like, one. I'm going to try to remember if there's one in Batman Returns, but I don't really feel like there is. Yeah, I don't inherently have a problem with the bat signal coming in this film. I'm okay with that. But I never felt like him and Gordon had that relationship that, like, they should have had, like, compared to Bale and, Oldman. So, even the one scene that Ben Affleck had with J.K. Simmons and Zack Snyder's Justice League, that's the kind of relationship Bruce and Gordon and Batman should have, and I just don't think they have that. And to me, he didn't look like Gordon either. He should have just been another police chief that, you could have just had. I would have been fine. It was Tim Burton already kind of did his own interpretation of some things anyway. Like Penguin. Penguin isn't actually, he's weird looking in some iterations, but generally, he's not necessarily ugly. He owns a club. He's more of a mob boss. And that, to me, is what I prefer. But I'm okay with what they did with Danny DeVito in Batman Returns. I think it worked for that film, specifically. So I'm okay with it. But yeah, like, Burton always does his own things anyway. So I was just saying, like, you would have been better off just making that Jim Gordon. You should have just made him some random police chief. Because to me, he wasn't Gordon. But yeah, that opening scene is great. I forgot to mention Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, I think, is really good. And gasp, no one had a problem because they didn't cast Billy D. Williams so we can have a black guy. It was because it was Billy D. Williams. It was a couple years after after Return of the Jedi. He was still a big name at the time, so that's why it wasn't, because representation and all that dumb shit. So, so we have the party. There's a scene where Bruce introduces himself to Vicky, and then Alfred, who I actually really like, is Michael something. I can't think of his name. Michael Go? I think his last name starts with a G. I know that. I thought he was a pretty good Alfred. Not my favorite, but I do think he's really good, and I do like that you could tell he cares about Bruce. And yeah, they leaned more into him being more of the butler Alfred, but it was fine for that film specifically. It doesn't bother me. But yeah, he does have those good inspirational wise moments with Bruce, though. Like, he has a scene later in this film, and I think he definitely has a scene in Batman Returns. So, Michael Goff, I think that's what his name is. He was really good. He's good as Alfred. So he tells Bruce that Gordon left, so obviously basically hinting that something's wrong. This is where he shows up as Batman. They go to the Carl Grissom, who's a pretty good he's a small little villain, but he basically fucks over Napier because he finds out Napier is having an affair with his mistress, and ba- um, Michael Goff